Oh, good afternoon, everyone. We are once again this week continuing our study of the book Alert uh, that was written by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis through the medium Divaldo Franco. We are in lesson 55, and as you do remember, each lesson is um, a different subject, so we don't have to worry about not participating in the other in the other studies, because each lesson she talks about a different subject. And today we are going to be talking, the lesson today that Joana de Angelis brings is about pleasure and happiness, as we can see here. So she's going to try to explain to us the difference between one and the other, and which one actually works better works in our favor. So let's start with, as always, we have a newcomer today. So just for her to know what we do here, we read a little passage, and we comment, and we are open for questions related to what we have just read. So let's start with the first part. Pleasure is a satisfaction that bursts suddenly, commonly as a response to a sensation that has been satisfied. That which at one moment constitutes pleasure, at other turns into uncontrollable displeasure. Pleasure soon subsides, leaving traces of fatigue or expressions of new anxieties. Established by the canons of carnal caprice, it externalizes the personal situation of each person, which is characterized by the type of emulation that the state of pleasures provides. So here, Joana de Angelis is talking about pleasure. What is pleasure? Pleasure is normally associated with the satisfaction of our physical needs, right? And they are of different natures. For instance, I may be eating a cake that it's, I would be satisfied eating the just one slice, but because of whatever, irresponsibility, I decide to eat four pieces more. So at that particular moment, is something that is delicious, is pleasing, my mouth, my body. I feel a tremendous sensation. But as every pleasure related to satisfy more the physical need, and not necessarily only the physical. In this case, it can be the emotional as well. What happens is when we use and abuse it, chances are that we are going to have almost an immediate response of discontentment. Because, while I eat the first slice is okay, the second is okay, the third is not so okay, the fourth one, it becomes a disaster. Okay, I start having a stomach ache. I'll have to deal with all the consequences of it later. It will bring me anxiety because, well, and regret. Why did I do that? And everything that is related to the abuse or to the living only to satisfy this kind of whim. Okay, this is what she's trying to bring to us here. She's not saying, don't do that, don't eat the cake. She's just telling us, pay attention, because there are things that you use as crutches, you see, but they are not going to give you any satisfaction. That could be related to any kind of addiction as well, any other thing that we could have similar examples. Let's see here. It's plus more satisfying the physical body, not as a spirit in the spirit world. Of course, pleasure is going on the way we are talking here, is the immediate sensation of satisfying our physical body. But it doesn't mean that the spirit has no take in that, because the spirit is the one that is commanding it. So it's important for us to know that the body per se will present cravings, but cravings related to the needs of our spirits. So in this way, we are not only satisfying the physical body, we are satisfying our spirit as well. So the spirit feels that has the needs and enjoys the needs through the vehicle that is the body. I know it's kind of complex, this whole thing. One thing that we know for sure is that we cannot split into, spirit and body. Okay, we cannot do that. We have, it's just one thing combined. The only difference is that the body cannot live or exist by itself. It exists when it has a spirit that is commanding it. I cannot hear you, Orlando.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
You said, speaking about graving, this is it. This is by having a physical body, it allows us to not only experience pleasure, but do evil things. But it's not the body; it's the incarnate spirit. So the body really is not helping us in a way. It allows us to experience evil and pleasure more than without a physical body.
Not exactly, Orlando, because what happened is I know it's very easy for us to try to, we always want to take the blame to something else or somebody else. In this case, we can try to blame our body. But the one that has vitiated the body is the spirit. So if the body is craving for sugar, it was not the body in the first place that asked for sugar. We started, with the intake of exaggerated sugar, and it comes to a point that your physical body, because its cells and the organs, everything starts becoming accustomed to that particular chemical that is entering there. And of course, it is going to miss. Your body is going to have responses of not receiving that, compound, that chemical anymore. But the one that is feeding is the spirit. The one that is corrupting, so to say, the body is the spirit. So we cannot blame the body. But once we corrupt the body will have those cravings and will keep on asking us, if you don't drink coffee anymore because you decided you've been giving me coffee for 25 years. And now, because your doctor thinks that, it's not being good to your health, you decided to cut completely. So my response to you is I'm going to feel the jitters, I'm going to, to have headaches or whatever is related to the withdrawal of a particular type of thing that we were giving our body. Even when we are talking about, you eat health, okay? It doesn't need to be bad. You eat healthy all the time. But then one day you go and junk food all over. Abuse of junk food all over. Your body immediately is going to respond to that. It is not used to that poison. But if you keep on continuing doing that and feeding that with this kind of, bad food for you, it is going to get used to it as well. And when you wanted to change to the healthy again, it's going to be difficult. You see, but it's always the spirit commanding. This is the reason why in the spirit world, as spirits, we may not be entirely detached from things that we use it to do in the physical body, and therefore we will be craving and trying to satisfy them. Let's read a little more because it's always in this area. So pleasure does not harmonize the being with life. Rather, it torments them. Sometimes because it does not become a permanent stage and is therefore exhausting. Sometimes because of the frustrating implication that result from it. The pleasure can be considered as a voluptuous flame that when it reaches, when it reaches the maximum of voracity, it also initiates the reduction of the flame that will soon be extinguished for lack of fuel. Enjoyment requires things, people, circumstances in order to reach the apogee of the sensation. There is two times here. Okay. So she continues talking about everything that is related to us moving in this direction. Okay. And the problem here that we have to think about is not only that we vitiate or damage or affect our physical body, but even our mind as well, our spirit as well, because it becomes something that we think that is something that we need. As a spirit, and but at the same time, one thing that she's calling our attention here is that if we are seeking pleasure, satisfaction in things of a material order, chances are that we are going to be frustrated. Because the flame extinguishes quite rapidly and can even provoke things in us. Sorry, I left the door open and the dog is zacking out according to his pleasure. Okay. Anyone would like to comment something or?
Could I?
Yeah, sure, Adam.
Um, in the last 20 some years of my life, I experienced exactly that. We give ourselves to the pleasures of certain substance, and our body slowly depletes and depletes. It comes a point when the pleasure is no longer a pleasure, but pure excruciating pain. And when you that in that depth of trouble, is extremely difficult to get out.
Mhm.
And thank God, there were generous and charitable souls that hold me up and drag me out of there, and um, I feel whole once again.
Yeah, that's what she's explaining here, and in each and every sense, because you see, when you were talking about how your body it suffers as well, even when we are talking about the excess intake of, grassy food or excessive sugar, it's going to affect our organs, and it's going to provoke illnesses that we are going to suffer. And the problem is, go to a person that has a serious case of diabetes because of, all these problems with sugar, insulin, and it's the person that craves sugar more, right? Because the body is also used to that. So it's very, very hard, and it's a great sacrifice. That's why, the whole point here of Joana de Angelis is trying to lead us in the direction of, if you have not yet compromised yourself, pay attention to what price you are going to be paying later on. If you did it, because most of us, we did it in one or the other area, it starts your path of recovery. Yeah, madam. You're going to say something, Adam?
Um, I believe and I understand that anything that is done in excess,
Mhm.
thinking, talking, eating, uh, anything that is done out of balance and out of in excess, damage our physical and spiritual body.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's just continue with the reading. It is clear that we are not referring to the joy resulting from intellectual and moral satisfactions, to the joys born in fulfilled duty, to the jubilations of pure sentiment. Joy is the inner state, or in this case, even pleasure, is in which emotion liberates the ideals of beauty and harmony, inviting the individual to grow, to liberate oneself, supported at times by certain conditions that enable it to reach its goal. It does not necessarily depend on them. Being more of a metaphysical order, its expressions start from the depths of the being and dominate all outer fibers, providing it with fullness and life. So now she's showing another way of us reaching the same joy, the same pleasure that we could be reaching with bad behaviors. So, for instance, people that dedicate themselves to become volunteers, or like, for instance, I'm even thinking about Adam that constantly goes to this project, Fraternity Without Borders, to Africa to help the children there. It is hard. It's a lot of, sacrifice, leaving behind the comfort of his home and being exposed to the harsh conditions. But since he was engaging in something that is fulfilling for his soul, he's feeling a joy in the sense, and that's why I'm not using here the word pleasure. I'm using joy, because it's something that, as opposed to the pleasure of the physical cravings that can harm us or any other things that can harm us, we are talking about getting joy from, good things, from donating out of yourselves, from like she says here, intellectual acquisition. You go to a talk, you go to you attend a course that is going to give you this joy of learning. It's more or less on these lines. Anyone would like to comment? Perhaps even you, Adam, if you would like to share some of your,
Yes, and the need to share once to other people. Right now, unfortunately, we cannot travel, but I'm engaged with the Xavier Mission in town in 15th Street, and I count the hours when I have to go there, because it's so much joy to be among people who are doing the same things. So the focus becomes so relevant now to be able to, the devices that we had in the past has translated and helping others getting out of their own ways. And it's so beautiful to be able to see a different aspect of life.
Yes.
Yes,
Orlando?
okay, what I want to say is, though she realizes the how in the creation the opposites were created, meaning that the opposite of joy is sadness. The opposite of good is bad, and always the opposite has more power over the good. So we're dealing with that.
Yes, Orlando, but as we always say, the opposite is more of a result of us not doing what we should be doing in the first place. So it is choices because of our free will. So it's like when I talked about, okay, again, the cake. I could have just one piece of cake and be satisfied. But my free will allowed me to have 4 or 5 pieces. Even though I know that it may, because it happened other times as well, right? It may not be that good for me. I'm going to follow my impulses and my immediate desires and satisfy my immediate pleasure. Well, everything that we do, there are consequences. Okay, I was giving a choice. Perhaps even someone there would say, Ju, you already had 2 pieces of cake. Are you sure you wanted the third one, the fourth one? So there will be those angels around us giving us clue that we are abusing and that the consequences of our abuses are not going to be good. So again, we cannot blame God. We cannot blame others. Okay, it's our choices. Our choices.
Who can we blame for including free will, which is messing up our viewpoints, our choices? And here, I don't know if it's the angels, their hands are tied up because of the free will.
You know what, Orlando, your free will even allow you to not act on your free will. So if you don't like free will, simply ignore it and just let people decide for you. And then you can blame everyone. But when you let people decide for you, is your free will acting, because you had to took a decision. And so that's what it is. So let's continue here. It feeds on the ideals of an open and does not dismantle itself when facing difficulties, because fundamentally solidary to the good, it makes man forget about himself, so that he works in favor of everyone with whom he shares his manifestations. It overcomes circumstances and rises above painful conjectures, finding encouragement in rough moments by feeding on superior aspirations. It can be compared to crystalline lymph, which hydrates and refreshes, producing no satisfaction than that linked to peace, to harmony. So here, you see what she's trying to build. She's saying, you want joy, you want happiness, there is a way for you to get there. And it's not exactly the way that we human beings have been looking for some time. And we have the experience. You know, how many times, you know, you have that extra drink that you say, oh my God, I know I'm going to pay for that tomorrow. Okay. Or you act on a whim, buying something, and you know that it's going to be hard to pay for it later on. Or giving up to the cravings of your body and immediately regretting because it was not supposed to be that way. So she's offering an alternative. She said, I know and we understand that we are all looking for peace and happiness. But the peace and happiness that you are looking at in the wrong place, for it in the wrong place. You want it to be lasting. You want it not to provoke any kind of consequences. This is the way you should be looking for it, with balance, with, you know, engaging in things that are going to make you feel good about yourself. Forget about the past, okay? We all have our history, but we have to be thinking about what we are doing today and what we are going to be planning on doing for our tomorrow. So the lesson is now, the invitation is now. The reasoning in terms of understanding it is now, because now she's inviting us to reflect. Think about the actions of your life. Think about of what I'm talking to you here, what I'm presenting to you here. See if you doesn't agree that every time that you try to, you know, that you abuse from certain circumstances, you paid a hard price because you were looking for happiness, because you were looking for satisfaction. But there is a different avenue for you to reach that, one that we will not make you be filled with regret and guilt, or, you know, the physical consequences that can come out of it, emotional consequence. There is one that can lead you to a much better result. Okay, any question or comment? The lesson today is quite hard. Next week is going to be a nice one, okay? I promise you. Pleasure is easy to achieve, while happiness demands a great deal of work. Pleasure expresses itself through the implements of the body. However, happiness continues in the realm of the spirit. Pleasure limits the higher aspirations of life, while happiness expands the forces for a vision of life in the face of eternity. So this is where she's trying to take us. Again, it's up to us. It's our choice. It doesn't help us delaying in what we did before this second. We are talking about the second from, from what we are going to be doing next. It doesn't matter how old we are because we don't know how many years yet we still have on this earth. And we are going to continue because we are immortal spirits. So we can perfectly well start the work now and continue, and in this continuing cycle, we will get each time more better. Any comments or?
Usada.
Yes.
That first one that says here, pleasure is easy to achieve. It sure is when we want, let's go back to the cake, right? It's easy to say, okay, I want that piece of cake instead of having maybe a banana that's less delicious or whatever. While happiness demands, if you want to be happy, you have to work with that pleasure, meaning if you know that that cake is not going to be good for you, okay, then the work is not to eat it. And that's the greatest thing. I'm not going to eat that cake. But how hard is that to do? We ignore it, so it's a lot of work just to decide to get on the right road here, to do the right thing. That is the hardest thing that we have. And it's so simple, as she says it so nicely, pleasure and happiness. And then she puts it in perspective so you could understand the work that we have to do. And then we have this mind. We have a mind. The mind is a great thing. It gives you, we have free will. We have everything going for ourselves. God gave us so much for us to develop into better human beings, evolve, and work toward the goodness of our lives. But it demands a lot of work, even for that little piece of cake.
Yeah. It's right, because everything is related to the need we have for immediate pleasure.
Yes.
It's when you talk to, I don't know, a child, a teenager, and say, don't eat too much sugar because, when you're middle age, you're going to deal with extra weight or diabetes. Yes. What do you think is going to be the response of those, children and teenagers? They go, I don't care when I'm in my 40s, Yeah. So that's the case here. And this is why she says pleasure is easy to achieve, because we are satisfying our, immediate cravings. But happiness, demands time, because, even when you build all that, you get your discipline and you get in your 40s and your health is peachy, you say, oh, it really worth that I'm now in good condition. But this is not what how we see things. We want it now. I don't care about tomorrow. And that's why that she says it demands a lot of work, because it's very much related to discipline, to choices, right? Adam, you wanted to say something?
Also, indulging is like taking a loan in the bank, and depending upon the amount of the loan is how easy it's going to be to repay it. Because everything that causes pleasure is a loan that you're taking against your body and your spirit. If it's too high, you're not going to be able to repeat it, and you're going to be foreclosure on the loan. I see it that way a lot of times. I says, can I afford this loan? And then you say, so I can afford, I cannot. And if it's too high, you're going to be in bankrupt. And what is bankrupt in the physical sense? You're not going to be able to function anymore as well as you used to, as well as you want to function.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of putting it. We're taking a loan, eh, and we couldn't care that we don't care that much if I'm going to have the condition to deal with this loan or not. And it's a very good way of putting it, and how much is going to cost us, with the interest rates and all that is going to represent accumulations, all related to what we are doing. So let's continue here. Pleasure savages human beings, and it is still a remnant of the primitivism from which the being proceeds. However, happiness promotes human ascension, making us flexible to the expressions of the higher life. Pleasure leads to the burning of the senses, while happiness appeases and tenderly frames the person. One is swift, the other is long lasting. So she continues, in this line, showing us what is the difference between pleasure and true happiness. And of course, again, she is asking us to use our reason and to think, what is best for me? What works more in my interest?
Usara,
Yes.
again, having a physical body, and you see all the different cakes and flavor. I mean, it becomes a struggle. This is why the monks, they spend years sometimes in the mountains away from the cake, so they could really focus on their religion. But us, we're in this up and down. We have the body and we see all the beautiful cakes and all that, and it's not that easy.
Yeah, that's why she said it's hard. It's really hard. But the thing is, we should know better. We should learn. How many people do you know that go to a bar and get drunk, and the following days miserable, and then 2 days later they repeat the same pattern? How long are we going to be imposing to ourselves things that will not lead us to happiness? You want to be happy, you have to be able to rid yourself from just looking for pleasures that are just giving you a hard time. They make you happy for 5 minutes, and they make you miserable for sometimes years. But again, it's not the body, poor body. It's us as spirits. There are resisting common sense. Because you see, like I said, you take you get a hangover, and still 2 days later you go and do the same thing, and 2 days later you're going to do the same thing. I mean, when are we going to learn? And then the body gets ill, and then we say what? Oh, it's not my responsibility. Oh, this body is not a good body. Why God didn't give me a better body to resist all this destruction that I'm imposing to it? So here is what she's saying, pay attention, pay attention. Let's go to this one. It is not for no other reason that the ecclesiast, it's for no other reason, let me correct that. It's for no other reason that the ecclesiast affirms happiness is not of this world. Jesus, giving validity to this concept, corroborates in the assertion that his kingdom is not of this world. Earth is where happiness should be labored and organized to attain its superior stage outside the body in the kingdom of the spirit, which is the kingdom of Christ. You see what she's telling us here? what she's telling us here is that it's not that we cannot have happiness here, okay? We can be happy here on earth. The thing is, we are looking for happiness only in material things. And so that's why she says happiness is not of this world. Happiness is not in the material things, in the material satisfaction of the senses. It is in the satisfaction of the spirit, in the kingdom of a spirit. So can you be happy on earth? Absolutely. If you start choosing wisely, whether you want to have, happiness for a few seconds, or, and again, we use it, of course, very simple examples, right? Life is much more complex than that. It's just to illustrate, and each one of us will get the picture of what areas should we be working in terms of putting all of this together. So that was the lesson for today. If anyone would like to make any other comment, or
May I make a comment in regards to happiness? I have known you, the group of your center, for quite a few years now. And the other day when I first went to start a treatment, I saw you and I saw Joao, and I saw this beautiful joy and this beautiful happiness. And I'm like, these people are giving themselves to all these groups. They come and go day in, day out for so many years. And I see the reward they got. They have this inner light that just shines out. I saw Joao and my heart just melt. And I see you in the same thing. I'm like, I'm so lucky to know you guys. And I'm so lucky to know you all workers of the center.
oh, thank you, Adam. And you see, can we expect better happiness in that? You really made my day. But yes, but as Joana de Angelis said, it's hard work, okay? It's dedication. It's you sometimes thinking, why am I doing that? What is the point? You look in the mirror and you still feel so little, so there's so much for you to learn and to achieve, but that's the thing. And that's one thing that, also Raida says, and I always like to repeat, is baby steps. So allow you to respect the speed that you're doing that as well. And the result is going to be so much fulfilling when we really decide to go in this direction. Okay. So this is it for today. Let's stop.